All right, we will call this meeting to order. I want to welcome everybody to our July 10th regular City Commission. Thank you for everybody in attendance, both here and at home. Welcome. We're going to begin with an approval of the agenda. We'll have our invocation from Pastor Henry Rogers of Turning Point Church. We welcome him here tonight. Then we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance, followed by presentations. We have a business spotlight for Hines Electrical and Communications, Inc. We'll welcome them here tonight as well. Then we have citizens' announcements. These are 2-minute announcements. These are more of we have a festival coming, garage sales, those kind of things, non-controversial short announcements, followed by our consent agenda with the June 12th regular commission meeting minutes, invoices, and the FMPA monthly report. Then we'll move on to public hearings and ordinances. We have 2 items. Item A is legislative public hearing and second reading of ordinance 2017-12, an application by the City of Newberry amending the City of Newberry land development regulations to change the composition of the Planning and Zoning Board to 5 appointed resident members and change the ex officio position of the mayor to ex officio non-voting. Item B is the legislative public hearing, second reading of ordinance 2017-13, an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances to abolish the Public Works Advisory Board. Then we will move on to our agenda items. Item A is Resolution 2017-16, a resolution of the City of Newberry, Florida, relating to the provision of fire rescue services, facilities, and programs in the City of Newberry, Florida, amending and restating the initial assessment resolution, providing authority, purpose, and definitions in certain legislative findings, establishing the cost apportionment and parcel apportionment, establishing the estimated rate for fire rescue assessments for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2017, and maximum fire rescue assessment rates, directing the preparation of an assessment roll, providing for the hardship assistance, authorizing a public hearing and directing the provision of notice thereof, and providing an effective date. Item B is appointment of North Florida Regional Planning Council voting representative. Item C is FDOT Traffic Signal Maintenance Agreement, Resolution 2017-18. Item D is State Road 26 Water Main Extension Contract Award. Item E is Resolution 2017-17, Appointment of Planning and Zoning Board Member. And then finally, we'll move on to comments, City Manager, Attorney, Clerk, Commission, Mayor, and then the citizen comments with a 5-minute limit. And then we will adjourn. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as read?
So moved. Second.
A motion from Commissioner Martin and a second from Commissioner Coleman. Any changes to the agenda? Any discussion, questions? All those in favor? Commissioner, I'm sorry, 1 second, didn't finish with the question. Commissioner Coleman had a question.
We can wait till then, but I said we remove B, agenda item B, appointment of more Central Florida Regional Planning Council.
Well, we have to just officially do it. Yeah. Sorry. I think it's a foregone conclusion. We love your leadership on that council. We appreciate all the hard work you're putting into it. I can almost guarantee 99.9 you're a shoo-in. All right. Now, I have a motion properly seconded. All those in favor of approving the agenda as read, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Pastor Rogers, would you please come down and lead us in our invocation, please, sir? And welcome.
Let's join our hearts together in prayer. Father, we do love you and praise you and just thank you for your love and your mercy for us. And Father, just thank you for the freedoms that we still have and enjoy in this great nation, that we can come together, Father, in order that we can pray to you, Father, our sovereign God. And Father, I just ask now that you'd bless this time together tonight. Just bless each of these commissioners, Father. Lord, just give them wisdom and knowledge and decisions that need to be made here tonight, Lord, and just bless throughout this meeting that you would have your will and your way. For it's in Christ's name I ask it. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor Rogers. We appreciate you coming out tonight. Okay, and we'll move on to our presentations. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, periodically, hopefully monthly, we recognize a local community business and spotlight them, kind of get the commission and the audience, those watching at home, a chance to know one of our businesses a little bit better. Tonight I'd like to introduce Hines Electrical electrical, and communication. Chris Torrance is here. Maybe, Chris, if you'd stand up. I'll just say a few words about Hines Electric, who I have worked with for 15 years now. I've been working with them in the electric industry for 15 years. But they moved to Newberry and began operating out of Newberry in 2001. They're owned and operated by fourth-generation Newberrians with children attending Newberry schools, very involved in FFA. Very involved in that. Mervyn Hines is the president. Probably no one knows who I'm talking about when I say Mervyn Hines, because he's known around here as Skip Hines. But Skip Hines is president. Chris Torrance, who's with us tonight, is the vice president. Chris manages the utility, site lighting, and right-of-way work, which is why I know Chris so well, because I've been involved in so many utility construction projects with him. They're located on Northwest 5th Avenue, just a block or so west of State Road 45, 2741. And they employ 15 people in our area, so we appreciate their employment. Just as just to share a little bit about what they do for the city of Newberry, they have been the recipient of a number of contracts to help us in our electrical side as well as facilities. And recently, for the Westfest Music Festival that we hosted, we solicited sponsorships, business sponsorship, to help us defray the cost. So no sooner had the emails went out that Chris had responded that they would be, I believe, a silver sponsor, immediately came back as a silver sponsor. And then before we could get the project underway or before the production began, we determined that we had a pretty extensive need to put power in the park so the businesses and vendors would have something to connect to. And that resulted in Hines contributing somewhere in the neighborhood of $4,000 worth of electrical service to the city, donated it to make that Westfest happen. That's the type of business that all the 15 years I've worked with them, that's the type of generosity they displayed in this community and in the surrounding greater Newberry area. And I just appreciate working with them. I've always found them to be a great company to work with.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that.
Was Tommy the founder of your company? Is that Skip Hines? Okay.
All right. Wonderful. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. All right, citizens announcements. Does anybody have anything that they want to let us know is going up? Don't be shy. You can come on down.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for your time. I am Nakaja Williams, a high school intern at the Newberry Branch Library of the Alachua County Library District. Tonight I'm here to talk to you about the great programs we have coming up in the next couple of weeks. Tomorrow, July 11th, the Little One Zoo will bring their program, Scales and Creepy Things, to the library at 3 o'clock p.m. This Thursday, July 13th, the Santa Fe Teaching Zoo returns with a program titled Life of a Zookeeper. Next week, we have our plastic-free workshop on Thursday, July 20th at 3 o'clock p.m. And finally, the program, What's a Body to Do with Freddie Johnson of Conservation Burial and Prairie Creek Conservation Cemetery on Wednesday, July 19th at 6:30 p.m., discussing meaningful and environmentally sensitive methods of attending to your mortal remains. We would like to invite you to these programs, and please share them with your constituents who would be interested in attending. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner? Nakaja is also a superstar on the NHS track and field team, and she's branching out to the library work. Mr. Coleman, Commissioner Coleman.
Disposing of your,
Teach you how to bury yourself.
oh, okay, that's pretty good. All right.
Sound like some great programs coming up over the summer. As always, as always. Any other questions? It's the event tomorrow. The zoo is up tomorrow. That's always a popular one. All right. Wonderful. And what were the times for the event tomorrow?
3 o'clock p.m.
3 o'clock starting time. What time's it end? As long as there's kids petting them? Less than an hour? Okay.
Oh, Scales and Creepy Things.
Scales, just what I like to pet. Scales and creepy things. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Any other citizens' comments? Citizens' comments? All right, hearing none. We will move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Moved by Commissioner McGehee, seconded by Commissioner Coleman. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, we'll move into our public hearings and ordinances. And I think, is this Brian going to lead us in this, Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Brian Thomas, our Director of Planning and Economic Development, will lead us in this discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the second reading of ordinance 2017-12, which is an amendment to our LDRs that will change the composition of the Planning and Zoning Board from a 5-member board, one of which was the mayor in an ex officio position but had voting power, to a 5-member resident appointed board plus the mayor as a 6th member, but this mayoral position now becomes a non-voting position as an ex officio.
Mr. Mayor, I'll go ahead and read this
Thank
if
you,
you'd like
sir.
me to.
Please do.
Ordinance number 2017-12, an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, amending the text of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations, amending Section 3.1 entitled Planning and Zoning Board to amend the composition of the Planning and Zoning Board and change the voting status of the ex officio mayoral position, repealing all ordinances in conflict and providing for severability and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2017-12 as read upon second reading by title only.
I have a motion from Commissioner Martin and a second from Commissioner Glanzer. We've been over this a lot. This is just a change in the structure of the committee for folks at home. Are there any last questions before we vote on this? Concerns? Any questions or comments from the audience before we vote on this? It's the second reading. Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, item B is legislative public hearing and second reading of ordinance 2017, amending the Code of Ordinances to abolish the Public Works Advisory Board. I think this is you, Mike.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'll take a crack at this. I think our Public Works Director was out on vacation on first reading, so I kind of filled in for him, and I guess by default I'll do it again. It's the second reading of an ordinance. About a month and a half ago, the City Commission directed us to abolish or sunset the Public Works Advisory Board. It had been created by ordinance, therefore it needs to be abolished by ordinance. The City Attorney his office drafted the ordinance, and it was approved unanimously on first reading on June the 12th. If you have any questions, we are available.
Mr. Attorney, you want to read it into?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This is an ordinance number 2017-13, an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, amending Chapter 98, Article 2, Sections 98-31 through 98-33, adopted by Ordinance 1-72, creating an advisory board for public works to abolish the advisory board and providing for codification of the same, repealing all ordinances in conflict and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2017-13 upon second reading by title only.
I have a motion by Commissioner Martin. Second by Commissioner Coleman. Again, this is another second reading. I don't mean to go through these quickly. If anybody has any questions, comments from the commission, Commissioner Martin.
I would just note the typo for correction in the title there. Fourth line, Public Works with a D.
So noted. Get that corrected. Any other comments from the commission? Any citizens have any comments about the abolishment of the Public Works Advisory Board? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. All right, well, move us to our agenda items. The first item up is the fire service. Dallas, I believe, is going to come and lead us up in this. And since we do have a new commission, I think the previous commission had sort of set a goal of raising the fire assessment 25 and dedicating that to paying for the fire house expansion. So that is kind of what's in front of us here tonight. That was our stated strategy at that point in time. Dallas?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Commissioners. As you guys know, the fire assessment is levied by the city of Newberry, can only be used to fund personnel costs, capital improvements, equipment, and other costs related to responding to fire and non-medical emergencies, and to maintaining readiness to respond to fire and non-medical emergencies through staffing, training, procuring, and maintaining facilities and equipment. State statute requires the Commission to adopt an initial or proposed fire assessment for the truth and millage notices, or TRIM notices, that will be mailed in August. The rate the Commission sets tonight is the highest rate, or the cap, that the Commission can levy in the current year. If the Commission decides to levy a fire assessment higher than the cap, the Commission would be required to renotice all property owners. The Commission has previously given direction to city staff to raise the fire assessment rates for fiscal year 17-18 by $25 for debt service payments relating to the fire station expansion renovation. The proposed rates for fiscal year 17-18 are as follows. Residential, $175 per dwelling unit. Commercial, 15 cents per square foot. Industrial warehouse, 3 cents per square foot. Institutional, 20 cents per square foot. The rate of $175 per residence will generate approximately $460,000 and is the rate staff has used to prepare the fiscal year 18 budget. The recommended action is to approve the resolution and to establish a public hearing to be held at 7 p.m. on August 21st, 2017 in the City Commission Chambers of City Hall, located at 25440 West Newberry Road, Newberry, Florida, at which time the City Commission will receive and consider any comments on the fire rescue assessment from the public and affected property owners and consider imposing fire rescue assessments for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2017, and collecting such assessments on the bill as ad valorem taxes.
Okay, I'll like the attorney to read the resolution in, but before we have a motion, let's go ahead and have our conversation. That way, if anything changes, we can go ahead and just get it right in the first motion. Mr. Attorney.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is Resolution 2017-16, a resolution of the City of Newberry, Florida, relating to the provision of fire rescue services, facilities, and programs in the City of Newberry, Florida, establishing the estimated assessment rate for fire rescue assessments for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2017, directing the preparation of an assessment roll, authorizing a public hearing, and directing the provision of notice thereof, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion would be to pass Resolution 2017-16 as read by title only, and as the mayor said, if you wish to amend the assessment rate, then you should do so now.
All right, so before we entertain a motion, does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns about this before we're ready to move? Commissioner Martin.
Dallas, I know the total generates 460,000. Can you tell us what the difference from last year versus this year was? 150 last year?
Is $150 per dwelling unit. It raised about $400,000.
Okay. It was 150 last year, right?
Yes, sir.
And it raised 400?
It raised $25 per residence.
I think he's asking, what is the difference
What's
that
the
$25 raise?
Yeah, it's about $60,000.
About 60. Okay. And for my memory, that would pay off the loan in approximately how many years?
The loan, I
What was
believe,
the
is for
idea?
5 years.
5, okay.
4 or 5.
So total that would be the 300,000. Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? And tonight, Dallas, we're just setting the maximum rate that we can go.
That is
Right.
correct, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Martin?
Were we changing the other non-residential rates at all?
Yes, sir. They all increase proportionally based upon call loads to each category. I don't have the old rates, but I can certainly get them for you.
Is that part of the 60 though?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I've always been appreciative of a commission that pays for things as they go. So I'm very proud of this board for saying, recognizing a need, it's got an expense, instead of just accumulating debt or doing something else. You say, we're going to pay for this, we need it, we're going to pay for it as we go. So I appreciate you guys' stance on that. Does the audience have any questions for the proposed fire assessment? Okay. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion at this time. I have a motion from Commissioner McGee.
I'll second it.
a second from Commissioner Martin. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those against?
No.
Okay, roll call. Commissioner Coleman?
Aye.
Commissioner McGehee? Commissioner Farnsworth? Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
Commissioner Glanzer?
Aye.
4-1, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dallas. All right, item B, we need to appoint a representative, a voting representative to the North Central Florida Regional Planning Council. This person has to drive all the way to Lake City. We need a dynamic leader who's willing to do it. Would anybody like to put forth anybody's name, nominate anybody to hold that position? Commissioner Martin.
I'll nominate Commissioner Coleman.
I have
Really?
a nomination and a second. Any conversation about Commissioner Coleman continuing to serve on the North Florida? This,
Martin nominated.
all right. Martin and Commissioner Glanzer seconded. Okay. Does the audience have any questions or comments about Commissioner Coleman serving admirably and with distinction and honor, continuing on the North Florida? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Commissioner Coleman, for continuing that journey for us. Okay. Item C is FDOT traffic signal maintenance agreement. I think Jamie is going to lead us in this one.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
It's one of these housekeeping things we have to do all the time.
Yes, sir. This is a reoccurring annual item that we have to do to receive our funding from FDOT for the traffic signals, and we in turn subcontract that work to the City of Gainesville to be performed. And they require a resolution be adopted every year to amend the agreement.
All right. Mr. Attorney?
This is resolution number 2017-18, a resolution of the City of Newberry, Florida, approving the amendment to the traffic signal maintenance and compensation agreement between the City of Newberry and the Florida Department of Transportation, authorizing the appropriate city officials to execute the amendment to the agreement, providing the City of Newberry accepts the responsibilities outlined in the attached amended agreement, repealing all resolutions in conflict and establishing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass resolution number 2017-18 as read by title only.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Glanzer, second from Commissioner Coleman. Any questions for Jamie about this maintenance agreement? Anyone in the audience have any questions for us about this traffic light maintenance agreement? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion passes unanimously. Don't go anywhere, Jamie. All right. Mike, are you going to lead us through this, or is Jamie going to lead us through the water main contract?
No, sir. Jamie Jones will lead us
All
in
right.
this discussion.
As the commission may recall, and for the benefit of the new commissioner, Destiny Community Church is building a new facility out on State Road 26. Back in the fall, in several meetings, we discussed the potential of extending a water main to facilitate that. In lieu of the special exception, they were asking for a on-site water and wastewater system. The commission authorized staff to go forward and come up with a plan as to how we could design, implement, and fund this project, and we did so. We placed the project out for bid, and we have received bids, and what we're requesting tonight is that we execute a contract with Worth Construction in the amount of $594,145.18 to install this, and authorize the city manager to approve change orders to the project not to exceed 10% of the contract amount.
Okay. Questions for Jamie? Commissioner Coleman?
I don't know, it might be more of a comment. I just wish that some local people here that have, and I know they're looking at the bid, I mean, they're just so far out. Work construction, it's everybody, every single time that we have this. I just wish we had some local guys that could,
Compete.
compete. So, that's all I have to say.
Agreed. Any other? Commissioner McGehee?
I want to commend staff on getting this thing together, because if you look at any of these large projects like what we're getting ready to do, the speed of government is most of the time a snail's pace. So I just want to thank you guys for for getting after it and getting this thing done, because I know that Destiny's, they're, of course, they've been slowed up a little bit, but it's going to be nice. It looks like it's going to all kind of work out, and that was one thing I was worried about. Less than a year's time to turn a project like that. That's pretty impressive. So kudos to you guys.
Thank you, sir. When you approved us moving forward with the project, it was on, the premise that we needed to get it designed, permitted, and let and constructed in less than 12 months to facilitate Destiny's construction project and not hold them up. And we've done everything we could to facilitate that.
I love to hear that, Commissioner Coleman.
And I also want to, I don't know who it was that inputted 720 pages of this. And I also want you to know that I read every single page.
There will be a test later.
Thank you. Whoever inputted that is unbelievable. I've never seen a PDF that large. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've never seen anybody admit to reading it.
Commissioner Glanzer.
I just want to comment that it was good for Destiny to be the impetus for us to start this, I guess, but everybody along the way is going to benefit from it as well. Whoever wants to come and expand or build between the city and, Destiny at this time can be closer to that because we have water. So I hope sewer is next.
Absolutely. Commissioner Martin.
I wanted to, with the commission's approval, to ask staff to go ahead and notice everybody along that corridor that's coming through. If there's something in the pipeline that they want to expedite or at least consider, that we make sure that we notify them of what is actually going out through there.
Mr. Manager.
We will absolutely make sure there's notification of a sort. Since the property is currently not developed and all the folks along the way are actually signing agreements to pay their fair share, I think that the impacted property owners are well aware of what's going on. The folks across the street, maybe not so much, but that there would be a cost involved for them to connect. But yeah, we will absolutely make sure folks are aware that we have utility service, at least half of the necessary utility service in place, and that we're looking for ways to make the other half get there as quickly as possible.
All right. Commissioner Farnsworth.
That's my question, Mike. What's being done about facilitating the wastewater?
We are exploring, we have a plan. We are exploring options to solicit funding. We had a pretty solid grant request in, an appropriation to the state this year that didn't make the cut, but that wasn't necessarily unanticipated. Most folks tell us that it's a 2 or 3 year period of time if you have that kind of time frame to get yourself on the funding list. I spoke with both Representative Clements and Senator Perry afterwards. Both indicated that they thought it was a great project for funding and that Newberry should stay in the hunt and continue to submit applications. They suggested another alternative that we would explore that you'll see as we go through the budget process for trying to make that a success. I had an email come in today that indicated that there was a special session with, there's a special legislative session where they're going to be entertaining ED type grants. And so we're going to explore that as well. There's a question as to whether we can apply for an ED grant right now. We've got one out there that that is in. It's been renewed a few times, and so DEO had indicated, this Department of Economic Outreach had indicated to us that we, until that one was completed and closed out, we wouldn't be eligible for any more ED grants. So we'll be communicating with them and say, please, please, pretty please. But we are always exploring. In the end, if it becomes a necessary burn, there's the backup plan of the city constructing it, but it's a quite extensive project. It's a costly project, and currently there's nothing driving it. Destiny is just fine to be out there without sewer. They primarily need water for fire protection. Their septic tank loading is very little. Anything larger that had a significantly more wastewater load would need to connect to sanitary sewer. But we're always hopeful that someone's going to walk in the door tomorrow and say, I've got 25 jobs, I need wastewater service, how fast can we go?
any chance of, like a special assessment on those property owners to run it out there?
There is that chance. That's essentially what you've done with the water system, is through an agreement, they're agreeing to pay their fair share once development rights are there. We estimate that the cost for the sewer system would be twice that. So, if a developer is paying $50,000 for water, we estimate that they'd pay another $100,000 for wastewater. And currently, the city's kind of floating that note for them because they're not required to pay until they get approved development plans through this board. So, at least for now, staff's recommendation is that we continue to explore some of these other options. If it looks like none of those are going to bear fruit, then staff would come back and discuss maybe a proposal where it's a city-initiated option, city-initiated project similar to this water system project.
Could somebody come in and decide to put a subdivision in one of those pieces of property and not have to pay or hook up to a sewer? They could just have, one home per acre or whatever the...
No, sir. If they wanted to put in a development that is with homes on a 1 per 5 acre, we allow septic tanks at a maximum density of 1 per 5 acre, and that property is zoned agricultural, so it would accommodate a 1 per 5 acre subdivision. The value of the property is such so that they wouldn't get a return on their investment. They've got more invested in it than they could get back out selling it as 5 acre lots. All the property owners out there have indicated that they expect higher density development than high-end residential to commercial. This board has said a number of times that is not where they anticipate residential being at all, and we've passed that along due to a number of issues, but primarily the mining issue that's not going away for the next few decades. And so we are discouraging folks for considering residential development.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Glanzer?
Oh, you said there was an open grant that's given us a roadblock to getting another grant. What open grant do we have that we keep extending?
We received a grant to extend water system and wastewater system in the Countryway Town Center, Newberry Town Center, and that grant has been extended, I believe, twice now. Brian back there.
We almost done, or?
And the next extension is through May of 2018. April or May of 2018, so we just got a recent extension.
Any other questions for Jamie? Okay, before we open it up to public comment, can I entertain a motion to authorize city manager and staff to move forward?
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Martin and a second from Commissioner Coleman. All right, does the public have any questions or comments on moving forward with the water main extension? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. All right, now that we have changed the mayor's position on the Planning and Zoning Board, we have to appoint a new member. If you'll remember, Brian, you might want to come down if you have any questions. If the board has any questions. We did have one application from former Mayor Bill Conrad to sit on the Planning and Zoning Board. His application is still active, and he still is desirous of performing that duty. Does that about sum it up there?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Actually, he turned in a new application as a civilian, so he would be, if appointed, would be the 5th voting member, residential member. As it says in the staff report, of course, he has several years' experience on the board as the mayor in the ex officio position. And he's also a licensed contractor, so he's got quite a bit of experience in the building and planning realm. And he was the only application for the open position.
Makes it an easy decision. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll have a motion to.
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion from Commissioner Glanzer to appoint Bill Conrad to Planning and Zoning. Second from Commissioner McGehee.
Mr. Mayor, I'll go ahead and read it by title. Resolution 2017-17, amending Resolution Number 2017-14, a resolution of the City of Newberry, Florida, appointing a member to the Planning and Zoning Board of the City of Newberry, Florida, establishing calendar year appointment term, and repealing all resolutions in conflict and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion, which has already been made, but if you'll accept the amendment just as having read the resolution by title, is to pass resolution number 2017-14 as read by title only.
Is that your motion, Commissioner Glanzer? Is that your second, Commissioner McGehee? Thank you. Any audience comments or questions about the appointment of Mr. Conrad? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Conrad, for agreeing to continue to serve. All right, that brings us to comments, and we'll begin with the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't anticipate being wrapped up so soon, so I haven't really gotten started on it.
You can hold until the next meeting.
I'm just kidding. And like tonight's meeting, I'll be brief. Just wanted to remind everybody we have a budget workshop tomorrow night at 6 p.m. We'll be discussing the general fund budget. We still have a little bit of work to do, some unknowns in a few areas, so I think the primary objective of tomorrow night's meeting will be educational, show you where we are in the process, get your feedback, also get you thinking about the preliminary millage rate at our next meeting of July the 24th. We will be establishing the preliminary millage rate, which is similar to the fire assessment. You will set the maximum rate. You couldn't go higher than that without re-noticing everyone, but you could certainly come in lower. So as a result of that, we generally encourage you to pick a number that's higher, that we know no extreme emergency could come up between now and the end of the year that will warrant us to exceed that. And then if we come in much lower than that, we still have that safety net. So those are our two objectives for tomorrow's workshop. The second and my last comment is I'll be out of town towards the end of next week attending a FMEA conference in Jacksonville. Be available by cell phone, of course, but just trying to learn more things about the electric industry that we can come back and serve our residents and our customers better with.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Mr. Attorney?
This is my pre-birthday night.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's my actual birthday, and I came in with on the dais here a bunch of birthday cards from city commissioners.
We like to be
mayors,
ahead of the
staff.
game
I'm
out here in
telling you.
Newberry, yeah.
And there's nowhere I would rather be on my pre-birthday night than here with you all.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Pinocchio.
Madam Clerk?
I don't have anything,
Thank you. Commissioner Coleman?
The only thing I got is that I don't know how far back FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, goes, but I know in the 80s that my team and me personally was really involved in FCA. And I'm not trying to make this a religious thing, but it's probably going to go that way, is that the Alachua County School Board is, I'm worried that they're going to stop the teams that are involved going to some of these functions. And that's softball, I know, baseball, football, lacrosse, a lot of these high school things. So if you feel compelled to do it, call your school board members and let them know that, you know, it's a choice of the student if he needs to pray or not. And it's a really good group. I think it goes back to the 50s where it originated from. So, but if you do feel compelled, if you're a Christian, call your school board member and voice your opinion. That's what I got tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Coleman. Commissioner McGehee?
Yeah, I just got two things. Number one, you know, we've been having these bad storms, and I've seen people get on the forum saying, my power's out, my power's out. I just want to thank our utility guys, because our power hasn't gone out. Knock on wood. Our power hasn't been going out. I know a few years ago it was notorious for, you know, that's what we were known for is the clocks being out all the time, and yeah, the squirrels causing all the issues. But man, I am really impressed with, and you know, I'm sure some of it has to do with luck, but I'm really impressed with city manager saying no luck there, but anyway, I'm really encouraged by the positive direction that we've moved with our utilities over the last few years, and I'm looking forward to hopefully getting to talk about doing some AMI and things like that to make it even better. And then the only other thing I had was I don't know about everybody else, but I'm about ready to make a move one way or another when it comes to the sheriff. I know that it seems I kind of feel like I don't know. I just kind of feel like this thing keeps dragging on, and I appreciate the work that the manager and staff have put into it. I just don't see a way forward, me personally. And I know this is the only time that we can talk about this, so that's why I'm kind of putting it out there. I don't know where you guys sit on it, but I'm just ready to get a number in front of us and let's make a move. So that's all I've got.
Well, as to your first comment, as a Central Florida Electric customer who was out of power for 2 hours yesterday, I hear. So I'm appreciative of our staff being so professional, keeping our power on. As to your second comment, I believe those are wrapping up, and the manager will have a presentation to give you here at the next meeting. Is our goal. So I think that will be coming to a conclusion here rapidly. Commissioner Farnsworth? Commissioner Martin?
I just wanted to publicly thank the Holt family for their fireworks display. I know it's a considered private show, but certainly is enjoyed by everybody in the city. I know we had most of our neighborhood out, or a good lot of our neighborhood just pulls up a chair outside on the street and just kind of watches it. So it's a great benefit. And if you can ever have a chance to patronize their business in any way, as a thank you, I'd encourage people to do that.
Thank you, Commissioner Martin. Commissioner Glanzer?
I just want to thank Heinz Electric, too, personally for your service and gifts to the city. And I had a citizen ask me yesterday if anybody knows how the cold storage is coming, speaking of businesses. We worry about them, and I don't hear what's going on.
My last update was all positive, but I would defer. I don't know if Jamie has an update on that, or maybe we can get you one in an email later on.
I'm sure citizens.
But my last one, it was all positive, and things were working well. So we'll find out.
Okay.
Commissioner Martin?
I had a question about the water fountain outside, too.
The water fountain? Yeah, the water fountain, I believe I'll let Mike speak to that. My information might be a week old.
And I got a status report today. We're still working on it. We're still dealing with insurance claims. We're still trying to nail down that who really is a rock mason. I think we've had a list of rock masons, but we've not necessarily been successful in getting a quote back. We spoke to several. But it's a high priority for staff. They're actively working on it every week. It's just a couple of things that are a little more difficult to pull together. So we're not going to let it slip by the wayside. It just may go a little slower than we'd all like.
I think Travis has met with about 4 guys so far, and they come out and look at it, and they say, I'm not quite sure I could do it. It's a lost art. So we're going to figure it out, though. Was that the end of your comments?
That's it. Thank you.
All right. I only had 2 things. I just want to reiterate to the commission as we go into our budget and as we go into another school year that the end of 15th coming out of the elementary school, having something there. It seems like the resolution last year was we were able to work out with a deputy to let traffic out, but as Tripp's selling houses and getting more people in his, I think it's going to become an aggravated problem. So I know a street light there is a long shot. FDOT really calls a shot on that unless we're willing to just write the check. But keep it in your thoughts, because I'm sure as the school year cranks up, we'll hear those kinds of comments again about what are we going to do, especially once Trips all sold out. And then we recently had a request for the utility assistance program here, which we've run for a long time. And it came to my attention as that resident tried to work through that process, that it's not possible to work through that process in the time frame that you would need to pay the bill. So it's 3 to 6 months to get through that. So it seems to me if it's going to be a utility assistance program, it should work. You should be able to get a 4-week extension and work through the process with a yay or a nay. So if we're going to continue that program, I think we need to look at it and try to revamp it so that it could actually function for the person who's getting the assistance, or we should look at whether we're going to continue that program. So that's just 2 things I kind of want to put on your radar to think about. All right. That would conclude my comments. Public comments. You have 5 minutes. Now's the time you can come and give a 5-minute speech if you needed to. No, Miss Peggy, did you have any comments? Wait till the next meeting. Okay. All right. Hearing no comments, motion to adjourn. All right. Adjourn.